What is up, people? How are you doing? Let's talk about the jihad, the 20-year waste of money that we just witnessed happen as a result of utter abject failure of the U.S. military. Naturalnews.com. Naturalnews.com. You will hear me mention naturalnews.com a whole lot in future videos to come. Anyways, let's discuss this debacle. Years ago, I read a book called The Halliburton Agenda. Extremely good book. Very, very, very good book. Extremely informative. If you've ever been called a tinfoil hat conspiracy theorist, I would highly recommend that you check out that book. It's one of those books that'll provide you with so many receipts. When somebody calls you a tinfoil hat conspiracy theorist, you will just be knocking them upside the head with factual evidence. One of the many things mentioned in the book, The Halliburton Agenda, and Halliburton is basically a big oil company. The thing that's mentioned in the Halliburton Agenda is how contractors operate. If you got a bridge that you want to build in some third world country or some damn where in America, it really doesn't matter. You demand it and try to make it seem like that humanity is going to come to an end and the American people are going to disappear into a portal of demonism and hell if we don't get this bridge to nowhere built out here in Arizona. Okay? And then you say it's going to cost $100 million. And you plead and you beg with the government and tell the government that the demons of the old American Indian past are going to come up out of the Arizona desert and start killing people if we don't get this bridge built. And the government submits and gives some contractor $100 million. They commence to go and halfway build a bridge and then proclaim that the $100 million has now been completely used up. And what ends up happening is that you are going to have wasted $100 million paying us to halfway build a bridge if we don't get the other $300 million to finish it. Now you would think the government would ask the question, well, if you built half of it with $100 million, how exactly do you need $300 million to finish it? But trust me, you've got some very, very crony, hand-rubby people in government when these type of things are done. And something that warfare does is that it does two things. It absolutely inflates many markets because the U.S. military doesn't pay for gas and oil the way that we pay for it. This is often why in so many alien movies you will see that aliens are going somewhere trying to look for energy sources, because it is very important, if you have a major military on the planet Earth, that you have the energy to power it. Many of the wars that were waged in World War II were really no more than the Germans and the Japanese attempting to gain control of certain energy resources. The entire reason as to why we literally got into Japan, World War II, had to do with when the Japanese bombed Pearl Harbor. But they didn't just bomb Pearl Harbor. Their primary thing that they were looking for was a oil facility that was in Hawaii. It was either oil or natural gas, because Hawaii is way out there. And if U.S. Navy ships can't refuel in Hawaii, then we, the Japanese, will be dusting them off dead in the middle of the ocean while they're out of gas. Okay? So, war is waged for often control of energy. Energy, because you can't move. Oil and electricity are the lifeblood of technology. Oil and energy are the lifeblood of technology. When your cell phone goes dry or goes empty, if you can't find a plug, you've got a useless $1,000 whatever the hell in your possession. Okay? Now, when it comes to Afghanistan, there are several things that are going on right now. There's a lot of stuff that's really going on. Number one, we need possession and control of oil resources coming through a pipeline that goes through that country. Number two, we need strategic military position against Russia, and we just need a presence over in that part of the world, specifically against Russia and China. China nowadays, even more so than Russia. Third, and this could have been number one, we want control of opioids. The price of opioids are probably about to skyrocket. But there's something that I'm suspicious of. In 2001, before the United States military went into Afghanistan, the Taliban had a 100% ban on growing poppy leaves, poppy plants, which is a primary plant used in heroin production. When the U.S. military took over Afghanistan, Afghanistan for 20 years has literally produced more heroin. Afghanistan has produced 3 times the amount of heroin that the world even demands ever since the U.S. military has ran the place. Now, if the Taliban are as strict still 20 years later, then you're about to see a complete re-implementation of the total ban on opioids. But there's something that I suspect, and you will observe that in the United States of America, that over the last 20 years, there has been an opioid crisis. Because if you produce 3 times the amount of opioids than what the world is even demanding, you're going to push the price of opioids dirt cheap. It's going to be dirt cheap. You've got more of the stuff than the world is even demanding. But if the Taliban takes back over and bans the stuff again, then the price of it is going to rise, and your Oxycontin and your other pain medications are going to be costing a lot of money. But what's also going to happen is that a lot fewer people are going to kill themselves, because you have got a pandemic of people dying of opioids. And for the record, speaking of the hundreds of thousands of people a year that die of opioids, you have 4 times as many white folk in Philadelphia, Chicago, LA, and in New York is 6 times as many. Somebody said the number is probably 8 times as many white people that killed themselves with fentanyl and meth than black people that killed themselves with guns. And you would think that if anything that you don't have to argue about, if the U.S. government is going to get strict about things that are killing Americans, you would think they would have got strict years ago about this damn opioids. But apparently, they have to come impose a dictatorship on you and hold your hand over a damn cold, which is what COVID-19 is. It's a hyper-glorified cold that has some body aches. That is it. It's a damn cold. But yet, opioids can kill you, and there was never a national public health crisis. Interesting. But back to Afghanistan. And pardon this dog that you're about to hear. My neighbor's dog is about to serenade me in a minute. But anyways, he may be asleep. I hope he is. But anyways, in Afghanistan, the thing that I'm suspicious of is that in leading up to this war, good luck at trying to find anything that sounded like peace talk, or good luck at trying to find anything that sounded like, well, we shouldn't get into this because big empires don't have a good time in Afghanistan. It's like, hell no, we're going to fight. We can't cut and run. We're not just going to sit here and let the terrorists plan again. Hell no, we're America. That's not how we do it. These people are threatening our freedom, and we was beating our chests every which way. And I know that CNN is a libtard network. I know that. with all the wokeism, leftism, et cetera, et cetera. But for any U.S. Sponsored or any U.S. existing media to openly put Taliban conquers. I was looking at the CNN special, and it literally said Taliban conquers Afghanistan. Like, really? Wow. I mean, just piss, shit, and urine in the face of the U.S. military. Like, damn. Like, we just got our asses whipped. We just got beat like some bitches. You know what I'm saying? That's what that sounds like. But if you look at it, I would predict that what has happened is this. Not only have contractors got away with potentially trillions of dollars of money, that's without a doubt. It probably took them 20 years to convince the Taliban, look, you can build as many of your Islamic mosques and all of this. Please, just don't impose a heroin restriction like you all did. Like what did they do? Like a prohibition. Like, don't do that. Just sell the stuff the same way you do pork. Because Muslims will sell pork to people who are not Muslims. They're probably going to convince them that with this new world economy, you all have a cash cow. And it doesn't matter. This is going to be in demand. I don't care what dollar collapses. I don't care what the living hell is happening in any country. Things like heroin are going to be in demand regardless. You're always going to be able to sell heroin. I mean, hell, if society is pitiful, people will use it to just about kill themselves and drown their miseries, you know. Hell, you could sell heroin in Harlem when every damn body was a crackhead, and the Harlem economy couldn't have been booming, you know. But that's what I predict happens. There's probably so much money that has been squandered. There are so many contractors that have probably just gotten away with murder. And they probably convinced the Taliban to go ahead and put the drugs on the market and not prohibit them. Anyways, Taliban, don't believe the hype. Them boys come out to fight, and this goes down as a loss for the U.S. Army. Shadow ban. I'm out.